اللهم صل على الحبيب محمد يا ربي صل.
I was that individual who Muhammad was describing a little while earlier, who had a little bit of knowledge and thought they knew everything, and I was ready to throw everyone under the bus. If I had met Muhammad maybe 4 years ago, him and I may have never been friends. And so I think in my life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made me go through some personal difficulties where I had to realize I had some internal problems. I was carrying some baggage inside that I had to deal with. And once I came to grips with that, I found someone who could help me. You need a mentor. You need a spiritual mentor. If you're out of shape, you go to the gym. Yes, you can play around in there. But if you find someone who's in really good shape and be like, hey, how did you do that? And they explain it to you, it makes it a lot easier. So that's what I did. I found a trainer for the gym and I said, help me out. And he taught me this stuff and he said, go do it. So you need to find a spiritual mentor. And that individual, just by being in their presence, you start to grow. You start to learn by observing them. Then you start to measure what you're doing to what they're doing. And you realize where you are going wrong. And you start to make those adjustments. And I think that's what's sort of missing in a lot of people's lives. We think we can do it on our own. I read a book. I've got it. Let me go. It doesn't work that way.
In Sudan, we have a proverb that says, "Al-ilmu fi as-sudur wa laysa fi as-sutur." Knowledge is in the heart, and it's not in texts and things like that. I was reading the commentary, Bahjat al-Nufus, this commentary on Mukhtasar Bukhari by Ibn Abi Jamrah. And he's talking about when Allah takes knowledge away from a people. And he's commenting, and he's talking about what knowledge is. And he just articulates it beautifully. He says, it's not knowing many things, and it's a statement, the famous statement of Imam Malik, العلم ليس كثرة الروايات. That knowledge is not knowing a lot of things, but it's a light that Allah casts in the heart of the believer. You can have people that have very little knowledge, but subhanAllah, they're very perceptive. And anything very perceptive.
Some of them can be,
yeah. And so they will humble you very quickly. When you think you know a lot of things, they know what's important, what's not important.
We're not knocking knowledge.
That's absolutely not. But I
not.
could give you an example of my own grandmother, may she rest in peace. She was an unlettered woman. To this day, I come across things by all of these different scholars written in books. She said it. She was teaching us that stuff. Taught my mother and her sisters and brother. She was teaching them this stuff. She was unlettered. And towards the end of her life, Allah, I actually saw this. She was reciting. Most of my life, I saw her, she's reciting the little surahs. Yeah. Towards the end of her life, she was reciting big surahs. Nobody sat with her and taught her the Quran. Where did she get that from? This is now you're talking higher levels of there's something else going on here. So, people need to, if this religion does not teach you to be more, the Quran is a difficult book to read, as Sheikh Hamza always says, because if you read it properly, you will have a hard time because it exposes you to yourself. And so when I'm reading the Quran, at least for me, and that's my advice to everybody, this is Allah's letter to you specifically as an individual.
Right.
Before it's to the Ummah, it's to you.
Right.
So do you recognize yourself in these verses when Allah talks about them? And if you recognize yourself in the negative ones, that's a sign for you to, I need to change something here. It's not about people out there. Look, كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ. Even the way Allah describes the state of groups, every group with what they have is joyous. It's an emotional state. You guys are happy and high on this, group mentality, as opposed to, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَعِظُكُمْ بِوَاحِدٍ أَن تَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ مَثْنَى وَفُرَادًا. Just go maximum 2 people together if you want to discuss something. But to gather groups around yourselves and start trashing on somebody else, especially when they're people of the kalima.
I won't even be drawn into these conversations.
Yeah, me neither.
I will
have no
just,
interest.
If someone comes to me, why are you... just please. Okay, thank you.
I love the mute button on Twitter.
Yeah, I just won't be drawn into it. I just won't. That's it.
Yeah. I notice it in my heart. Sometimes even with family members, if anybody wants to discuss something that's contentious, that's going to divide people. I remember, first of all, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that إِيَاكُمْ وَالْمِرَاءُ فِي الدِّينِ. You know, be wary, be very careful with argumentation in the religion, because people before you were destroyed because of that. And the Prophet ﷺ got angry very few times, to the point where his vein on his forehead would pop out. And that was one of them, when the companions would argue about the religion. So I remember that. I noticed the state of my heart, that something is off here, and I actually will physically get up, as if nobody stops it. Now they're transgressing upon my heart, and Allah says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Allah's going to ask me by myself. If people around you don't want to change the subject, I'm just going to get up and leave. I'm not interested.